Hello, I am Endlessness and welcome back to Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, and in this video I'd like to give you a guide for Angeal Penance Escalation level 20. Angeal Penance is weak to ice and fire, and Angeal will buff his elemental resistance to the element that you'll bring. And even if you bring both elements, he'll buff his resistance according to the element which is stronger. And the most annoying part of the battle is when Angeal does Defensive Lust attack, where he cleanses himself of all debuffs, and he also buffs his elemental resistance and applies Veil. So until you deplete Veil, any elemental damage will be useless. So in order to deplete Veil, you need either non-elemental damage or bring another DPS weapon. But you also need magic defense buffs and also higher magic defense stats. Physical defense isn't as important as you can survive it, but Angeal's charge attacks are magic, so you'll need to counter those. But Angeal will also keep debuffing your attack, so you need to bring attack buffs to counter it as well. And also important, Angeal will buff his attack to extra high, and he is immune to attack debuffs, so the only way to counter that is with Matt's or Nanaki's limit break, but you also need to do it before he applies Veil. And here I am bringing Fire Team with Sephiroth and his Withering Blaze, but initially I did my first clear with Edged Wings and Ice Team, and I have to say the battle is pretty much exactly the same with either element. And if you bring Ice element, you could have Aerith with Citric 1 to boost both magic attack and ice damage, but Sephiroth's Withering Blaze isn't actually worse than Edged Wings. Yes, it deals 700% damage, but when Sephiroth is buffed in any way, it has this additional 1.2 multiplier, which turns it into 840%. So when Sephiroth is buffed, it actually hits harder than Edged Wings, and every time he hits, he keeps extending fire resistance debuff. So I honestly think Withering Blaze is a bit underrated. Yes, it's not a 1120% big PP damage weapon, but it does very well on its own. So as I said, Edged Wings battle goes pretty much exactly the same, but I just thought Withering Blaze deserves some love too, and it's a very good opportunity. But of course you could use Tifa here instead of Sephiroth, or Zack would also be great if you have his half-year anniversary fire gear with exploit weakness weapon, and he could actually cover both elements very well. But Vincent or Cloud would be good for a physical team, but you want Camera for that. And I am also using Magic Team mainly because I don't have Camera to consistently buff physical attack, so Magic is just much better for me. But also since we need magic defense buffs, Naki is, and Naki here is just much better than Barret because he can nullify Angeal Penance buffs, those attack buffs which you need to nullify, and otherwise you would need much higher magic defense and HP or reprieve to survive. But I also have few equipment slots empty because those higher stats were necessary, so I tried to keep them to lower minimum. Aerith has Bahamut outfit with Crimson Flare, Baharot for heals and P-Dev buff, Crimson Staff for offensive magic buffs, ultimate weapon, 2 defensive stat sticks and a single target cure, just in case, and then sub-equipment slots, 2 guild weapons with magic defense for allies and store integrity for HP. Naki has Canyon outfit with Stardust Ray to nullify attack buffs, Ivy collar to debuff fire resistance, Sleek collar to buff magic defense, ultimate weapon, and 3 stat sticks. And he could put ice and fire material in elemental slots, but my Nike barely tickles, so it won't do any difference for me. And I just use it to build up his limit break faster, that's all. And then sub-equipment slots, a weapon with HP and skill weapon with magic defense for allies. And here in empty slots you can equip either a weapon with magic attack for allies to boost your DPS character, or just another guild weapon if you need more survivability. Sephiroth has Odin outfit with Hellfire, Withering Blaze for DPS, Odin for exploit weakness, Genji, 3 stat sticks with magic attack and magic defense, and then in sub-equipment slots Protector's Blade for some magic ability potency, Innocent Warrior to max out his magic attack and boost fire potency, and Watch of the Hunt or Power Soul for HP and magic ability potency. Alright, so first of all, I think I forgot to mention that Angeal doesn't have a DPS raise, he doesn't have Enrage, so it'll be the same thing over and over until you defeat him. So it just depends on your DPS. But here, it doesn't matter what you do, because he's healing himself, but just wait for your max stance, and I can't do any DPS because he is fully immune to fire. So just do non-elemental DPS, and no, you will not deplete Veil before this attack hits, so just make sure that you have nullified those magic defense debuffs and continue doing DPS. But with Naki, just make sure that you'll have enough AD to buff your magic defense. It's a very slow charging attack, so it's fine. And here I'm just mostly using it to build up my limit gauge. But here, MDEF buff and just do another attack with Sephiroth to not sit on full AB. But Unleash Wrath with Veil and his gauge when you couldn't deplete Veil. Yes, it hurts, but luckily you can survive it, so you don't have to deplete it, you'll just take more damage. But also don't worry, you don't have to fully deplete Veil just by doing non-elemental damage, because his fire buff expires, and after this you can start doing fire DPS just to deplete the Veil, and then you can apply all those buffs and debuffs. Okay, here let's just nullify those magic defense debuffs one more, and we can debuff fire resistance, and just with Aerith one more attack. Alright, let's do both summons. Don't use Stardust Ray. I at least don't recommend it because it depends also on your DPS a little bit, but I just rather sit on it for when I need it, because Angeal will buff his attacks and I need to nullify those attack buffs, otherwise I will not survive. So that's what I recommend, just rather sit on it instead of trying to do a little bit more damage and then die accidentally. Right, and here's his physical and magic attack buff, but don't nullify it. You can survive his attacks, you can switch to defense if you want to. It's okay, don't panic. Let's heal Sephiroth a little bit. And also on Aerith and Nagi, their attack debuffs, they don't matter, they don't do DPS, they just barely tickle. When you get to around 50% HP, there will be another animation, and after this Angeal should do his Veil. And that's when you want to nullify those attack buffs. Alright, here it is. Your regen, that's fine, but here. Alright, here when you see this animation, you have to nullify those attack buffs, otherwise it'll be too late and you have to restart the battle. It's a pretty slow charging attack, this animation, so you have enough time. But now it's the same thing as the beginning of the battle, so you have to heal, and you also have to make sure that you have magic defense buffs. Because Angeal is exactly the same. But also because those charge attacks, they are so slow, you have more than enough time to recover and prepare. But it's really that veil that is the most annoying part of this balance. It takes, at least me, the longest amount of time in a battle to just deplete it and get rid of it. Right. Actually, let's switch here. Right, magic defense debuffs are nullified, that's good. And as soon as you see fire or ice resistance buff flashing and expiring, you can start doing elemental damage. Because even though there is veil, you'll do a little bit more damage than with non-elemental hits. Okay. We're back in business. And again, I recommend you could do it, risk it if you want to, but I just rather sit on Stardust Ray, because Angeal will buff his attack pretty soon. But also those were my two Genjis that I kept for the summon, and after, if he debuffs my physical attack again, I will have nothing to nullify it. But physical attack on Sephiroth is not important for his normal hits, it just affects his summon. Alright, here it is again. I got it in time, barely. But yeah, when you see this animation, you see that the lights and even the shield starting to glow, you have to hit that limit break to nullify it. Otherwise, when you see that gauge and veil, it's too late. And I am pretty sure that the veil, I might be wrong, but I did this battle only a few times, and I think the veil and the attack, it depends on HP caps. So for example 50%, then he does his Glony, and then it might also be timed, but I'm not sure, but it's exactly the same attack. Alright, we'll have to buff magic defense, and exactly the same thing until you defeat him. Alright, heal back. And just to nullify, well, I can't really nullify those attack debuffs, but with Enfeeble, alright. Magic defense debuff is active again, but with Enfeeble, attack, yes, it affects your summon, but I recommend always, if your defense is debuffed and you have Enfeeble status, always try to nullify it, because it will hurt you a lot more. Oh, actually, I missed that. Fire resistance or immunity expired. That should be 2 more hits, and then we can bonk with summons. Alright, perfect. And yeah, let's do this. I also recommend only use Stardust Ray if you know that you can kill the boss or are very close from killing it. I wasn't sure if he will die from it or not. But that should be 1 more attack, I think. Yeah, 1 more. But as I said, I recommend, just to be safe, sit on Stardust Ray until you are very sure that you can kill off the boss. Because if he buffs his attack and then you can't debuff it in time, then you have to restart the battle even though you are 1 hit away. So it's just annoying, and it's better be safe than sorry later, because this battle is quite long and mostly you just sit on it to deplete that annoying veil. But yeah, that's the whole battle, and it is quite an annoying battle because of that veil, but it's a little bit different, so I don't mind. But I also hope you find my guide helpful, and good luck on your own clear, and in the meantime, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next one.